What's up, everyone? Welcome to another quick TanookiToadTeam chat. Today, you just got me and Minnie. We're talking about some of the hard times of running a YouTube channel, being compassionate with your fellow teammates, and a little bit about me and Minnie's overall friendship and how that's grown over time. Thanks for hopping on with me, Minnie.
Of course, of course.
Sweet. So, I think with running any kind of hobby or business, you got to be willing to respond when things don't really go as planned. I think the pandemic's a really good example. These things, they can help you grow or they might even just crush you, and you just have to be really clear of how you're going to respond and not get crushed. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think at the beginning of any new business or, hobby or whatever, it's always really tough at the beginning because, it's first starting out, it's getting off the ground, nothing ever, Bill Gates didn't, build his empire in one day, it took a while. And so, when you're first starting it, it can be a little, tough, it's 10 views here and there, stuff like that. And, when you finally do catch your break, that's a big change. All of a sudden now you have certain expectations and now you have people that are ready for your content to be posted. And now it's like, okay, well, we can't just sit here and, post whenever we feel like it. We kind of have to, it's almost like it didn't become a job because for us, we set an expectation of, okay, well, we have people counting on our content. So we need to make sure that we come up with something good. And so, I definitely think the change always happens as the hobby or business grows. And so you do need to be ready. Okay, I've got it off the ground now. Now I need to be ready for what happens next, because I'll think a lot of people, what they focus so hard on is getting the business off the ground. And then once it's off the ground, they fail because they didn't think anything past that. But yeah, I think it's really, really important that, it's like, okay, cool. You have 100 subscribers now and you're averaging 50 a video. Okay, well, what do you do now? And I think it's like really, really important to like look past just what's in front of you and be ready for what's coming and the change that could come.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key things to keep in mind here is that maybe your biggest challenge is growth. You have to be able to respond to that so you can continue to ride that wave so you don't get crushed by it, and so that you can be able to keep moving forward. And I think one of the biggest things to help anyone who's kind of going through a rough time is just to look at like what can you actually control. You can always improve your content. You can always improve yourself, which will kind of show in your content. There's a lot of stuff you can do. There's also a lot of stuff you can't do. You can't manipulate the algorithm. You can't change how other people's videos look or how good they do. You can only really change how your performance is. And I think it's really important to have that in mind, is you'll never be able to track that stuff. And I think over time, I've cared more about just overall when I was doing my best with the channel was what was I putting out, and just getting really excited and getting like fully immersed in that process instead of this super predictable hamster wheel of, oh, this person's creating way better content than me. My content stinks. This is like this wheel. It's much better to just trust the process of kind of this like, oof, we fell, we're going to keep going, we're going to keep trying, and you just kind of acknowledge where you're at and you're honest with yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, one of the biggest things that helped us was the fact that, and of course, this is a lot easier to do back in 2013 when YouTube was still getting started and it wasn't the huge platform that it is today. But we didn't pay attention to anything what anybody else was doing. We were just doing our own thing, and I mean, I think we were probably one of the first YouTube channels that were doing what we were doing. But, you know, we weren't paying attention to anybody else. I remember specifically, I wasn't going out and looking at other YouTube channels that were doing the content we were. I wasn't, searching and doing all that. I think, of course, as time went on, we did that. And I think, like, Dallin was saying, it's very unhealthy. You need to make sure that you stick to what works for you. And, at the end of the day, if your content is good, then it'll grow. It doesn't matter if it's like everybody else's. If your content is good and what you do is good, regardless of what everyone else is doing, it could be something completely different than what everyone else is doing. It'll be good and it will grow and you'll gain. People will draw to it. There was this girl who has what is that disease where they randomly say stuff just out loud?
Ooh, is that Tourette's?
Tourette's, yes, Tourette's. Thank you. she has Tourette's syndrome, and it didn't stop her from becoming a Twitch streamer and a YouTuber, and she almost made it a part of her content. And I mean, of course, she doesn't like sit there and like make fun of it and like make it all about her, but it's something where she almost integrated it into being a part of her content, and that's what makes her unique. That's what makes her special, and that she, instead of sitting there saying, "Oh well, I just ruined my own content because I'm randomly saying these random things," no, I'm going to make it better, and I'm going to make it so that way I can actually be different now.
I think that's really cool that she was willing to embrace these things that she was not able to control and make it part of her content. I think we were able
Exactly.
to do that to some degree. A lot of us, we're all kind of starting from a very similar spot with the content creation anyway. And so we were able to make fun of each other a little bit for our lack of knowledge and lack of experience with that. We were able to just kind of bounce off each other and make up for some of that. And it was a big part of the channel, was just that we were all growing, we were all learning the process together, and like you said before, just having a good time and not really caring a ton. I honestly did care a pretty good amount, like,
No, I did
you
too,
know
100%.
like looking at other people's stuff maybe, but yeah, we were definitely pretty early to the scene, especially in comparison to where we're at now.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I think another thing that um kind of is different nowadays is that there's almost a standard into like how you make content. And it's like, back then there wasn't a standard. There wasn't a you need to do it this way. It was just a this is brand new. Nobody knows what to do with this. So do something with it. And we did. And I would say that, the way that we did things back then, I don't know if it would have worked just as good. I know as it went along, as we grew with the platform, I know it would work now. But I definitely think back then we would have had a tough time with the way we did things. But yeah, I think one thing that's making it more difficult is there's almost like a standard in the way that you need to make content and the way to produce it, and how it's supposed to look. And it's like, well, no, it's like, back then for us, we did everything. We didn't steal people's ideas. We didn't go look at other people's channels and be like, oh well, they did this, and what if we do something like it? It was no, we everything we did was hand scratched by us. And I definitely think that whole expectation of the way content is supposed to be created now has kind of ruined the creativity that's in YouTube now. If you go sit there and look up the new YouTube channels, they look like the big ones, the ones that they look the same as the ones that have 1 million subscribers. There's no difference. Everybody's trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's become this like cookie cutter thing. It
Yeah.
really has. And I don't know, it's definitely like it's tough to be yourself, when there's so many other people that seem to be doing a lot better. And I think a lot of people like to throw away some of their uniqueness just to get a couple extra views. Now something right off the bat, we're gonna be ourselves. We're gonna be as positive as we can. We're just gonna have a good time
We couldn't hide
and
it. We were too
whatever.
young.
Yeah. So we're just gonna make the most of it, and that's what we did. We were just us.
Yeah, I mean, we were too young. We didn't know how to hide it. At least I didn't specifically. I mean, maybe everyone else did at the time. I didn't. I was way too young. I was, like I said, I mean, it's been well established how young I was. So yeah, there was no way I would have known how to not be who I was. Who I was it, you know. So it's all I had known. But yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with a lot of the multiplayer stuff, especially in the beginning, it was easy for me to go into my shell because there's other people talking. But over time, I kind of was like, okay, well, there's other things we want to try. And to try different things, you have to raise your voice, you have to take action, you have to do stuff. We weren't going to survive. The channel wasn't going to thrive with just, the same content over and over. We had to make little improvements. And
Definitely.
that's where like the montage and Toad's challenge and stuff like that, just to try to involve the community and whatever. That's where a lot of that stuff came in, was that desire to be more than just a cookie cutter channel.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's cool. Well, let's kind of shift gears a little bit, talk about like considering others' feelings and perspectives and just appreciating their contributions. This is something I learned to do with the channel. I mean, there'll be times like I call you guys on the phone or whatever, and it's like, yeah, sorry, I can't make today. It's like, but you said you could make today. It's like, sorry, I can't make today. It's like, no, and you're just not super happy about it. But I learned to see you guys more as people, and I think there was times where it was easy to think of you guys maybe more as just a number, which sounds horrible. But like, hey, we need to have a 4 players for a 4 player video. But overall, slowly that was able to completely go away whenever it was there because you guys had other things you were trying to do, but you're also giving your life to the channel. And I think overall, it's super easy to get really swallowed up in your own vision and forget that other people have a vision. And the ability to be able to create a vision with somebody else is special, and not to waste that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I can totally see. Honestly, I've said this before. Recording at a point did become just what we did as friends. It definitely became, that's all we did, when we would see each other. We would all pick a day that we could, get together. We would go there, we would, record. I mean, we would spend probably the entire time. We would probably go in, talk about, the ideas that we were going to do for that day. Kind of get ourselves get going and everything. And then camera goes on. And so, yeah, I could definitely see where, at the end of the day, that numbers, those people just become a number. And it's like, okay, well, do I have enough? This person shows up today, then this person shows up today. So yeah, I could definitely see how that could happen.
Yeah, I think the danger of that is you start to see people a little bit differently than how they actually are.
Yeah.
You forget that they're having their own growth experience themselves. Like I know as James kind of grew up and got better at his graphic design and stuff, it was kind of harder to like kind of let him get out of his role of just being, younger brother and, maybe not having as much to say, but he really grew up, and he had needs that needed to be met. One was like, I want to try out other stuff. I want to help more, and being able to respect that, I think it's huge. Just the boundaries of that is really important to keep in mind, because you could really hurt some people if you don't respect those, and if you don't let people if you don't let them grow. You got to let them grow. I think that's something the channel really taught me.
Yeah. I mean, again, all of us were really close friends to, begin this channel. I mean, obviously you and James were obviously brothers, but I definitely think we grew as friends from this channel, but there was also the dynamic of our friendships all changed. Where our focus really did become content based. And of course, if we after recordings, if it wasn't too late, we would all chill out and talk. And I remember there's times where we would stay for dinner and we'd chill out. And I remember the pizza nights and all those good stuff. Those were all dope. And I remember them, like they were awesome. But I mean, I do think our friendships changed from just normal friendships to, okay, we're content creators together, and like this is like what we do as friends. And I mean, it was really fun. I mean, again, I wouldn't change it. I loved it. I thought it grew the friendship a lot, where working together with a friend is a lot different than just hanging out, chilling out, stress-free. I feel like it almost grows the friendship more than, because I mean, you are having to work together. You are having to be creative together. You're having to think of ideas together. It's just, you're adding stress onto something, which always grows it. If everything is just peachy and it's always good, then it's not going to grow nearly as much as when you put stress onto something.
Yeah, I think there's a need to not be micromanagey. I think it was easy for me
That's how it was for a while
to do that sometimes. Be like, all right. I mean, I can understand like the not saying each other's names and such.
Yeah.
At least with the beginning. But then sometimes there'd be other stuff like you need to talk more or you need to do this. And if you say that to a specific person, I mean, it's probably not going to help them talk more. If anything, it's
Yeah.
going to do the opposite.
I mean, I think the thing with you is that you were just really passionate about trying to make the best content that we could have, and at the end of the day, you were the one putting in the most work behind the scenes. Of course, I was there for some of those meetings and stuff like that, but I mean, I really wasn't. I'm not gonna sit there and even pretend to act like I was a part of the big picture behind the scenes at that time. I really wasn't. I didn't really join that until you probably came back from your mission, and then that's when I really got more involved and got to do all that. But yeah, I definitely think it came from a place of you just trying to make sure we got the best content out, not necessarily that you were trying to be the boss of everybody and that you were, it's just barking out orders. I definitely think it came from more of a place of, okay, guys, it's like this is what we need to do to like better our content. And at least for me, I never had a problem with it. I don't think anybody ever had a problem with it. I think everybody always kind of needs that serious person that's like, okay, guys, this is what we're doing wrong. We need to fix this. Like, not necessarily, like you said, there's obviously unproductivity that goes along with that of the, hey, you need to talk more. Okay, well, that doesn't really help. It's like, but there was obviously a lot better conversations that happened that helped grow the channel. And, I attribute a lot of the channel's success to you.
Yeah, definitely all of us for sure. But yeah, I do appreciate that. I mean, I do feel like we were led by a vision, and then being able to communicate that vision was huge. But it was really wonderful to see like other people contribute so much, like James and like you, like in ways that I hadn't really anticipated. Sometimes people, they really do surprise you. You need to let them surprise you. You just never know.
Yeah. 100%. And I know we started this conversation. We've been when we started talking about how everybody plays a role, but I feel like this is a pretty perfect segue to go into me and your personal friendship, since we've been talking about friendships the entire time. But yeah, no. So for me and you moved here when I was younger, and so I'm sure it was, of course, you were, I believe, high school. Right?
When you moved here?
Yeah.
No, sir. I was ending elementary school.
Really? It was that early? Interesting. I thought it was middle school or high school. Okay. So yeah, I was even younger then. That's crazy. I didn't think I could get younger than that. Yeah, so yeah, me and Dallin were both extremely young when we first met each other, and I do remember James was obviously younger as well. So all of us were wee lads. And, we all had, I think one of our favorite things we used to do was we used to play football in the street. And it was obviously two-hand touch, obviously. But yeah, and of course, Mephiles would be there sometimes, a good amount of the time, actually. And, us four would sit out there and we'd go play football. And, we'd have a ton of fun. And, I think it was one of those things where we created like a bunch of like different games inside of like a regular game, so like we would have to pick like the touchdown markers for the field for football and stuff like that, and it was really fun. But yeah,
it was really good. Mephiles' dad could really throw it back in the day. He really could. And then Mephiles got this Patriots football that we worked that thing so good.
Yes.
And Mephiles got pretty good at being QB too. So I'd generally be a wide receiver, and we'd switch it up. And over time, I sort of got more comfortable being the quarterback. And yeah, lots of really good times. I mean, easily 50 plus games a year. I mean, we played probably every week at some point and for years. So that was a wonderful memory.
Even in the cold. But yeah, I have one fond memory of that. And it was actually you were messing with us, mister. It was you faked running into a mailbox. But you acted hurt.
I do remember.
I remember I went and got my parents and everything, and they came out, and everyone was all concerned. And you're like, "By the way, I'm fine." And I'm like, "Dude, you just acted like you were like really hurt." Because, like I said, it was on the street, and I think I don't remember if I was guarding you or who was guarding you, but you got pushed, and it looked really bad. Like it looked like you got hurt, and yeah, and so that was.
Kind of an out of character moment for me. I usually don't, I guess, deceive people like that. I really try not to do that kind of thing, but I just was like, what if I put my hand up right as I run into this mailbox at this
Yeah.
speed and just fall down and just, yeah, it worked out perfectly in my favor. Everybody's like, oh no. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
I mean, we
completely
all
fine.
laughed about it. I mean, it's still, I mean, you see, I got a smile on my face to this day about it. I mean, it was funny back in the day, but I mean, everyone was super concerned because, like I said, from my angle, I think I was the one that was guarding you at the time. Like I said, I mean, I pushed him, and like I said, I mean, he went really hard into the mailbox. So I, of course, from my angle, I couldn't see if his hand went up or not. So you know, it looked rough, but
It
yeah,
was
no,
like, it was literally like a second before, I'm sure. Like it was
yeah.
right before I like put my hand up, and
Yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah, no,
kind of
I mean,
crazy.
it was nuts. And of course, you know, like I said, you know, we'd play in the cold, you know, when it would snow, we'd play tackle football because, you know, it wouldn't hurt. So, you know, because you had the soft football padding. And you know, it was a ton of fun. We had a blast doing that. And of course, you know, basketball. You know, Dallin was obviously very good at basketball back in the day. And
We
I'm
played
sure he's still good now.
21 all the time.
21, yes. And what was it, around the world?
We do that one too.
Yeah, around the world was a lot of fun. And another thing, you know, where we got creative was we actually created our little own makeshift basketball court. You had the chalk and the two goals and everything. That was really cool.
That
But
was a
yeah,
good time. Yeah, half of it was in the grass, half
half
of
of it
it
was in the
wasn't.
grass. Yep, yep, yep. But I mean, hey, you know, I think if the channel was based off of one thing, it was that we worked with what we had.
Hmm.
We really truly did work with what we had. You know, hey man, we only got a camera and some books with a tripod. Screw it, we're still gonna do it. You know, basketball, we got half a grass. Hey, we're still gonna do it. You know, we're gonna make it work no matter what. You
Yeah,
know,
it's good we're having this conversation. It just makes me think of like all the ways that our friendship was tested before the channel even started. You know, another thought that comes to mind is I remember with you got one of those little tiny footballs that you could just chuck really far,
yes, and
and
it had the air, and it
it'd
would
be,
whistle. Yeah, it would whistle.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And basically, what happened is one day we were throwing that around, and there's these little gutters, and it went into one of the gutters, and we tried so hard to get it out. And I don't know if it was that time, but I actually went into the drainage pipe
yes, it
and went
was.
through it, and it was so disgusting, but I
It
got
was
it out. I
so
think that was one of the
scary.
times.
Do you remember it was super scary? Because it was like it's pitch black at the time, of course, because we're doing this at night because we're all super smart. And it's disgusting. It's pitch black. We really can't see much. And I remember I was scared. And I think Dallin, you played another prank on us again. Dallin used to be the prankster, and he acted like he saw something. He's like, dude, I think I just saw like a snake or something, and then I dipped
Yeah,
after
I
that.
do remember saying
Yes,
that. Yeah,
yes, yeah. So
yeah. I
I
had to have a
dipped.
I had a little bit of fun with it. I don't think it was that dark, but I was a lot smaller back then, and like it was just this tiny little drainage pipe, and I could barely crawl into it even before my growth spurt. And so like I've looked at that hole since then, and I'm like, how in the moly did I fit in there? And I just crawled in, and I
I remember
remember
you
the
wanted me to.
smell. Yeah, I went. I wanted to. I remember the smell. It smelled like if this is what like frog poop smells like, that's what this smells like. And just crawling through, and yeah, it was. I made it through that first little part, and then I was going to go through the second part, but the second part was so much longer, and like you just never know. Like stuff
You never know
lives
what's in
in
there.
things. I mean, yeah, you have no idea. Stuff can happen. So yeah, it was a good time. And then there's one time when I don't know if I got stuck in there, but Mephilis's dad like used something to like
Pull
loosen
you
it
out.
up and let me out one other time. So yeah, that was another fun memory I wanted to share. I think that honestly brought us closer together because it was like I'm not going to get upset at you because my football got lost.
Yeah.
We're going to solve this together, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so there's little stuff like that that can create a little, you know, just a little bit of a pushback, and you just kind of create a grudge from it, and that kind of thing can really hold back a relationship from growing as much as it possibly potentially could have grown. So I definitely see there's a lot of those times before the channel even started.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, there's a ton of memories. You know, I remember when we had a basketball hoop, it was on the street, and what we would do is if we were ever going by it and we had that football that you were referring to, we would just chuck it. And we would try to make it. You know, we would try like ridiculous throws that were like, you know, 30 yards away. We just throw it at it and see if it would go in. And I remember one time you finally made it. And it was like the first time that like any of us had ever made something like that. And we ran around, we went crazy, we were super excited. And but yeah, dude, there's so many memories I could sit there and think about. I could talk about this all day. But yeah, I agree with you. Dude, the amount of times that me and you just had to sit there and just like figure something out together, you know, the meetings that we and you would have after your mission trip about the channel and like how we wanted to do things and the creativity aspect of it. There's so many different things that me and you had to work through together and like figure things out. Because, you know, I'm sure, you know, you were away from YouTube for 2 full years. I mean, now you're back and it's like, okay, well, what do I do? Where do I take this? You know, and, you know, yeah, there's always been, you know, there's been disagreements that we've had, but I think it has always, you know, made us grow together and always made us stronger.
I think with a lot of things we've done together, Kyle, it's come from a place of love. You know, you've
Yeah.
wanted to help the other person,
Yeah.
just with like most of the stuff that we've done together. So I think that's helped a lot. But yeah, with the YouTube channel, I mean, got back 2 years later, you know, there's been two E3s, all these games that are out that I hadn't really heard much about, or some I hadn't heard anything about. You know, the Switch was out and I was like, what the heck? I'd heard a tiny bit, but really nothing. You know, I knew nothing. Got home, you know, and so you gotta pivot. I mean, it's like a challenge. You gotta know what to do. You gotta work together,
Had to
because
be a
if you're
change.
not, if you're not willing to work together, then you're not going to get very far. There's that quote that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And
Yep.
so it was something we definitely did. I mean, the channel's nearly a decade old.
Yeah. And I mean, I always found it funny that we made it on my actual birthday. I remember that always used to be the joke. That, you know, we'd always say is, you know, we're celebrating Minnie's birthday and the channel's birthday. Woohoo. And, you know, we get all excited. But yeah, no, I definitely think it was really cool. Like I said, it's an experience that you'll never get to, like, it's something that as a friend, you can only experience one time. And I think it's one of the coolest experiences I've ever had, you know, sitting here. Like I said, you know, I think we took it as seriously as we probably could have at the time for the time being in terms of like age and stuff like that. And I think it's one of the coolest experiences I've had in my very young life so far. But I think it's definitely one of the coolest experiences of sitting there, going through creativity with your best friends and, you know, having to create a path for a lot of that whole team to go down, and everybody's got to see that path and they have to go through it. And seeing us do it, seeing us go through all the creativity stuff, it was really, really cool, and probably, like I said, one of the coolest experiences that I've had.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that from you, Kyle. Yeah, I mean, we were just so young. We got started so young, and that put us ahead of the game in a lot of ways. I mean, we don't have to think ever again, what would have happened if we had started a YouTube channel? We know because we did it,
Yeah.
you know, and so we have all those memories to look back on. But yeah, I mean, for anybody that's listening to this still, I mean, if you have any kind of desire to start a YouTube channel or something like that, I mean, I know
Do it.
Miguel started one of his friends. I mean, at least give it a try. You never know like what could potentially come of it, and how the relationships and friendships you have already could grow and deepen. I mean, that's one thing. Me and James, we've gone along pretty well, but the channel really bonded us together. It really did, because we were able to work together more and spend so much time together. And it's really been such a blessing for that and so many other things. So definitely be willing to take the plunge. I mean, sure, there'll be rough days. We talked about that earlier in this chat, but you know, there's a light through the tunnel if you have really good people to work with, and you also have that vision that's pushing you forward, and you know, hopefully you are having joy along the way too. So I mean, keeping all that in mind, it'll be a transformational experience for you.
Yeah. And, you know, there's that quote that's, you know, don't be sad that it's over, be happy that it happened, you know. And I mean, like I said, I never realized that the last time we recorded as four was going to be the last. I never realized the last time, you know, we recorded with the original 2 or 3, or, you know, the last live stream that we had was going to be the last one. but I can safely look back at it and say, you know what, man, we really did put our all into this. I can really be proud of what we created, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. The only other way I would have had it is if we were able to keep doing it. That would have been the only other way. But sadly, life does get in the way, and it's I again could not be more proud of what we did. Be more happy with what we did. I think I've said this before, but all of it exceeded all of our expectations. Nobody when we were sitting around talking about creating a YouTube channel thought we were going to get anywhere near where we did. And I mean, I hope everybody feels the same way I do, but I'm sure I can speak for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just I had no idea how big of an impact it would have for people. I mean, I was kind of hoping we'd have more numbers growth-wise, I'll be honest with you. But the overall impact we had, could have never imagined. And it's still reaching people to this day, with different videos. So I could never have imagined that. Like all the lifelong friends I've met from the channel, like even just fans, I still talk with some of them to this day, people from a while ago. So I never could have imagined that. So yeah, I definitely stand with you. It was definitely a monumental experience that very thankful for, and definitely thankful I'm still doing some form of content creation with my podcast and other stuff. But yeah, this is the first. This is one of the first big undertakings, and I do look back on this experience as teaching me a lot of discipline and keeping at it. I mean, you look back and it's like we didn't make those excuses, like we could have made excuses of homework, tests, whatever, we did not care about that. We cared so much about those things that we would get them out of the way so we could make content together. But if you love something enough, I mean, you'll make those sacrifices, you'll make it work, you'll make a path. I think we talked about that earlier. You'll make a path to walk on that won't have a bunch of rocks on it. I mean, that's something I've struggled with a little bit recently, is having all these paths I'm walking on. There's some that it kind of are getting some debris on them. It's harder to walk on them. So you have to clear it off. But that's something we worked on with the channel, and we kept working on it. So move smoothly, could help a lot of people, and I couldn't be more proud either.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wish we could have or would have done?
I know we talked about this in one of the earlier team chats about opportunities missed and stuff, but something that I definitely would have loved to have more, and we tried it earlier, but I didn't really stick with the idea, was like having more people from the community speak up. We got that a tiny bit with Toad's Challenge, but just being able to hear other people's stories and how they found the channel would be cool. And who knows, stuff like that might come out in the next couple of years, who knows. But that being able to hear that would have helped, because for me, like, words of affirmation is one of my love languages. So whenever I saw like comments or anything like that, it really would make my day and make it a whole lot better. But like when you have like a video's worth of, like, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And if a video's worth 1,000 pictures, that's a ton of words. It's like 1,000,000 words. So it's like being able to just know more of the impact you made. I mean, a lot of stories have been dug up from these chats that would have never been dug up, so it's like just giving people that opportunity to share their voice more, something like that.
Yeah. I think I was thinking more like project wise, maybe, that we never got done. And I think I think it would have been our biggest series ever. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of people that know what I'm about to talk about, that never actually came to fruition. It was the big Melee tournament we were supposed to do. It's one of those projects that I think if that truly had gone down the way that we wanted it to, I think that would have been our biggest series.
Probably a very fair estimate. I mean, even with those little practice tournament matches me and you did, those did decently well,
And I'm not sure if you remember, we were supposed to do that before you left for your mission. We had that planned for a very long time. But yeah, no, it's one of those series where everybody was looking forward to it. Every video that, you know, the tournament was brought up in. It was, you know, even if it wasn't like, even if it was like a 30-second like bring up of, hey, just, you know, we're thinking about doing the tournament on this day, you know, we're still figuring things out, blah blah blah. Oh, in the comment section,
There's a lot of build up for
we
it.
would see it. And,
yeah, I would. Yeah, to have the tournament, that would have been a beautiful thing. I think that would. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only project that I remember that we talked about. And I mean, I remember we had a bracket set up for it. We had everything. We had everything set up for it. It's just we could never get the days going. It was the biggest problem of, you know, it was already hard enough to get 4 people there on the same day. Now add in 8, 12. You know, it was tough. But again, you know, I definitely don't look back at that and am disappointed by it. I'm just looking back at that and saying that's probably the only what if I have. You know, what would that have looked like? How much fun would that have been? You know, but again, I can't even be disappointed. You know, it was all, you know, even this is so surreal to me. You know, me and you sitting here talking, you know, and recording our faces, saying each other's names, all this stuff. It just all seems so surreal.
Yeah, yeah. It really is beautiful how it came together. Definitely didn't come together how we planned it would, but that's not a bad thing at all. It's actually a big part of why we love it so much was because it didn't quite go as we had planned. So,
yep, 100%.
Sweet. Well, I think that probably wraps it up for this team chat, but we'll have to see what the future holds. I would love to do a Smash Ultimate tournament with you guys at some point, but I don't know. If that did happen, it'd be for a while, and I don't know. You wouldn't find out about it from this channel. You'd have to look elsewhere.
Yep.
But
so why are we giving people hope? Okay, guys, we've already.
I can edit it out. I'll edit it out.
No, we gotta keep that. We gotta keep that.
I mean, I'm just telling you what I want.
No, I mean, look, it's not only the fans that wanted it; we all wanted it as well. It was.
It's not the same, of course, but it's something.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Oh man, no, that's awesome.
We're gonna try to get Mephiles in the last one of these coming out on Saturday, which is the day the channel officially moves on. So kind of crazy, but thank you so much for listening, for watching. Definitely leave any comments of the memories you've had of the channel. That would make me and Kyle smile, and everyone else.
Yeah, your favorite moments or anything like that.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Later.